and Germany. Let's now talk to Willy Wimmer, the former state secretary of the Minister of Defense of Germany. Thank you so much, Mr. Wimmer, for joining us to discuss this in RT International. Well, as we heard, Angela Merkel stressed the importance of decentralization and a ceasefire. Do you think she has enough influence over Petro Poroshenko to actually convince him to take those steps?
I hope that she has enough influence, and when she realizes how the German people think about the events in the Ukraine, she must be very realistic about it. People here in Germany are fed up with NATO lies, and they are fed up with wars organized by the United States here and there and everywhere. And therefore, I think it is totally necessary to provide President Poroshenko with a window of reality. We are not interested in having the ongoing conflict in the eastern part of the Ukraine, and we should do the utmost to find a peaceful solution. And therefore, I think most people here agree to the remarks of Angela Merkel that weapons should be silent in the Ukraine.
Well, also, Petro Poroshenko says that Angela Merkel promised to provide 500 million euros for restoration of eastern Ukraine, given the economic woes in the dire strait, the situation the region is in. But can we be sure that this aid will reach the troubled regions?
I think it is necessary, because otherwise the German taxpayer will become angry. And the German taxpayer is not willing to spend money here or there for people who go on with fighting.
Well, also, Merkel has accused Russia of sending weapons across the border, and something that Western officials have been saying for quite a while, but nobody has produced any proof yet. Why is that?
Because, as I mentioned earlier, the German population, and it's the same with all the other Europeans, they are fed up with NATO lies, and therefore it is necessary to find constructive ways and means to have talks with the Kiev government, and also to have a successful meeting between President Putin and President Poroshenko next week in Minsk.
Now, it seems like the Western side has its rhetoric and keeps going with it without providing any substantial information to back it up with. For example, a recent Twitter post with a random photograph of a Russian tank, and that was already enough to set off the NATO-level accusations of Russia staging a military invasion. So what do you personally think about the situation? I know you already explained some of the position there, but I mean, personally, what is your take on this?
We never made such an experience of our own mass media, and when it comes to our own governments, that we have so much propaganda in our relationship with our neighbors. And therefore, this has to be stopped. And the most critical man with regard to this is the NATO Secretary General. And I think we are all happy when he leaves office.
Now, unlike the U.S. officials, Chancellor Merkel earlier agreed that the Russian convoy's mission of delivering humanitarian aid to Ukraine is of utmost importance. Does that mean that she has a more somewhat moderate stand on the issue, unlike her American counterpart?
She expresses what the German population think. What we heard about the last weeks was the bombs are falling, artillery is firing, and missiles are directed to the civil population. And therefore, for the first time since weeks, if not to say months, we saw a constructive approach to the situation in the eastern part of the Ukraine. That was the Russian aid convoy. And suddenly, the weapons were silent. We heard no firing, we heard no missiles, we heard no artillery. And therefore, I think the approach of Angela Merkel to the situation in the eastern part of the Ukraine fits completely into the sentiments of the German population.
Right, Frmr, former State Secretary of the Minister of Defense in Germany and former Vice President of the OSCE Assembly. Thank you so much.